So once we're finished with casting on, then you're going to start with your basic knit stitch. So you'll have a bunch of little loops that are connected with a line at the bottom here, and you'll want to spread them out just a little bit so you can see what you're doing. And then you're going to transfer this. I use my left hand to hold this because your right hand is the one that you're going to be doing the work with. So I like to unspool a bit of the wool as well so it's not tight. And you're going to take your working needle, and the first loop you're going to put it behind, through the loop, and put it behind so it makes like an X, like that. And you're going to go around the needle so it wraps around like that, and you've got your own little loop there. And this part is hard to show, but you pull your needle through, making sure that you've got that new loop on the right side needle. So we wrap around, and then we're going to pull through. So it's kind of like an A, and then you're going to move that off the end and put it onto the right hand needle, and then you're left with your first stitch. So again, you go through, make like an X, and then you wrap around, pull down, and then move that stitch across. Once you get the hang of it, it's really, really simple. If you've made it too tight like I have there, then you have to sort of wiggle it out. That's why you shouldn't over tighten. But again, you just pull through, and then you can always tighten it just a little bit on this side to make sure that it's not too loose. I like to push mine down just a little bit so that you don't accidentally drop the stitches. It's not the end of the world if you do drop one, but it makes it easier if you don't. So you just continue with the basic knit stitch until you get to the end of the row. The other stitch, the most common one used in knitting, is called a purl stitch, which is basically just a backwards knitting stitch. So you start again with the all the loops in your left hand if you're right-handed, and your empty one your right hand, because we're going to work with that. In this case, I've got my little tail there. Eventually you will tuck that in at the end, but for now just hold it out the way so you don't accidentally knit it in. And you're going to take your empty needle, your working needle, and make an X again, but this time you're going to do it in front of the other needle, and you're going to wrap it around again, and instead of pulling it forward, you're going to go backwards. So that's a bit tricky to see, but you go forward, your X, and then wrap around, and then pull that through, and then you're going to pull the stitch off of this one, the old one, and it drops down to make the new stitch. And you just continue the same way. So in through the bottom of the loop, make your X, wrap around, and then pull down, making sure that your new loop stays on your right needle, and pull the old loop off of your left needle. So knitting and purling is basically just pulling your new loop through the old loop and making a chain. That's all it is an interconnected chain of wool. But you just have to make sure you're moving the right one over, so you don't end up with extra loops, or you don't drop anything. That's important, because recovering those is a bit tricky. It's not impossible, but if you drop too many, it'll make it look holy, which isn't necessarily the look we're going for this time. So that's how we get started with casting on a basic knit stitch and a purl stitch as well. Thank you for joining us today. Please feel free to share your creations with the hashtag KnittingForAChange across social media platforms, and we look forward to seeing your beautiful creations.